You're listening to.
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 Conversations with
Amber
Amber the Fangirl.
You're amazing.
Amber.
You're the best.
Hi guys, Amber here. Welcome back to In Conversation with ATF. My guest today is an actor and also a voice artist. He is best known for being for his animated roles. He did the voice of Matsuhiro in Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword, Mr. Lee in Static Shock, Dr. Ho in Batman Beyond, Professor Arthur Chin in Justice League, Storm Shadow in G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, Grandpa in American Dragon Jake Long, Jeong Jeong in Avatar The Last Airbender, Kaz in Hi Hi Puffy AmiYumi. His live action roles have included Mr. Wu in Deadwood, Henry Lynn's uncle in Sons of Anarchy, Buk Bukai in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Mr. Lee the Chinese tailor in Dude, Where's My Car? His other live action roles include The Duck Factory, Here Come the Monsters, and Boy Meets World, and also more animations that he's done includes Teen Titans, Trouble in Tokyo, DuckTales, and Adventure of the Gummy Bears. Today he's here to talk not just about his career, but also about how voiceover has changed and voice acting techniques and anything to do with behind the craft of voiceover. My guest is Keone Young.
Hello.
Hello.
You forgot one character that is one of my favorite, and that's Commander Sato of Star Wars Rebels.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I was
That's
going through
okay.
your thing and I was just picking out stuff
I
that I
have
knew.
so
and stuff.
many. I have so many.
Yeah, like I pick out as much as I can, but I don't want to make the intro like too long, so I just like list every single character that you've done or anything like that.
I know, but you know, it's the strangest thing. People will pick out the most obscure things. I forgot, like things that I've done in the past, like Gem and Gummy, the Smurfs and Gummy Bear, and
I didn't know
all
you
the way
did
to
Gem.
stuff like Centurions, where nobody has heard of, or Karate Commando, you know, Chuck Norris's Karate Commando. So I've
Yeah.
done a lot of obscure stuff as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard of the Centurions, mainly because I interviewed a cast member from the show on my birthday, Diane Pershing, who was in it. So she was really lovely.
Really? Yeah, she's a
Yeah.
sweetheart. She's a good friend too. She's Poison Ivy, right?
Yeah, in Batman the Animated Series. And the reason why
Yeah,
I
she's a
point
wonderful lady.
I
Wonderful lady.
know she sings the best rendition of Happy Birthday I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, you know,
she said Happy Birthday.
she used to be one of the Johnny Mathis singers. I don't know if you
I,
remember Johnny Mathis,
I
but
don't think I
he was
do.
a big pop singer in my day, and from the 60s, and she was on tour with him. She started as a vocalist.
Oh yeah, I think she did tell me that. I
Yeah,
remember now.
yeah, she's a
Yeah.
wonderful lady. I love her.
I know, she's so sweet. Oh, and I brought up, of course, the little roles that you've done in like Static Shock and Batman Beyond and Justice League, you know, kind of on the obscure side. It's only really because I'm into the DC animated universe at the moment, so I kind of
Really.
just brought this up because, yeah,
Did you, bring-
honestly, just like, oh,
did you mention what was that thing that I was on Young Justice? Young Justice? Is that what was the DC thing?
what is it? Justice League.
Yeah, but it was the Young Justice,
Was it
something
Young
like.
Justice? I don't think I saw anything to do with Young Justice.
Yes, I
I'll have to
was
check.
sensei.
Yeah. Young Justice. Yeah, you were. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. It's because it was it's next to it says you did additional voices. Well, I mean, this is coming from Wikipedia, so you can't really trust it.
Yeah,
Said you've done additional voices for Transformers Prime. I'm like, I don't
yeah,
know. Have you?
yeah.
Have you even done anything Transformers related?
Yes, but you know, in the old days, there were a few of us in terms of voice acting. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the 80s here. And then when we were
Yeah.
doing G.I. Joe, which was 1983, 84, 85, around there, we used to just go from one studio to the next, you know, like we just go, they'd go, hey, we need somebody here for Transformers. Can you come in and do it? And then we just rush into the next studio and just do it. And that's what it
Yeah.
was like. You know, there was like Justice League, Centurions, Transformers, GI Joe, and we would all kind of go back and forth, and as we were needed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And because Transformers and G.I. Joe, of course, have the same voice director, Wally Burr. I believe he did
Wally
all the
Burr, right?
recording that. Did you
That's
do
right.
all
That's right.
recording at a studio? So like G.I. Joe, was that at Wally Burr Studios or was that somewhere else?
Yeah, that's same. Yeah, it was right next door. The same studios, and it was directed by Wally Burr, who was sort of a mentor to me. I mean, I kind of learned my animation chops during G.I. Joe and with Wally Burr, and working with all those great actors. You had guys like Peter Cullen and Michael Bell and Frank Welker,
Oh, my phone
and
case.
you know, and then you had the young guys who I was part of, like with Rob Paulson and Corey Burton,
Mhm.
and and we all worked together. There weren't that many voice actors. I mean, it was tough getting into voice acting,
Yeah.
in those days, and it was a really kind of like a club, a secret kind of club. Nobody knew us except for the voice people. And we
Yeah.
would interchange, and we would do all the voice jobs in town. We would do Walla. It was called Walla now. I'm sure it has some kind of progressive name now, like
It's called ADR,
okay, whatever.
additional dialogue
We called it
replacement,
Walla
additional
back.
voices. Yeah.
Right, right.
Mm.
We called it Walla back then, and then I mean, I worked with great people starting in Walla, who started with like Robin Williams and Phil Hartman. I don't know if you know Phil Hartman. He's
Yeah.
passed. He was with SNL, and uh, so we just did all the voice, and I worked with some great directors doing Walla. I mean, I worked with Billy Wilder, um, who was the director of Sunset Boulevard and
Yeah.
The Apartment, and some great directors, Peter Yates, who was from England. He directed Bullet. So we
Oh.
got to work with great directors as well doing the Walla.
Hmm.
So it was a kind of a golden time for actors.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially during that like the 80s, which was when I think it kind of bloomed, even though we lost a lot of good VAs. Like I know Dawes Butler and Mel Blanc died in the late 80s, so we kind of
Right.
lost a few good people. And then
And
like yeah.
what's his name? Mike, the guy who did the original Scooby Doo, uh,
Don Messick.
Don Massey. Yeah, I got to work with Don and Dawes, and so I was, really fortunate to. And I worked with a lot. That was a day's heyday too of Hanna-Barbera,
Yeah.
and the young casting and directing people are, were people like Andrea Romano, uh, Colette Sunderman, you know,
Yeah.
and, and it was a great time, a great process, a great learning experience for me. And we all became very close because of that.
Oh, yeah.
And Frank Welker, of course, he was one of my mentors as well. A
Was
wonderful,
he?
yeah. The thing about voice acting, and particularly during those days, you found some of the nicest people, and I had been working a lot doing on-camera stuff. That's where my background started because we all started in theater first, and then we were trying to get on-camera roles. So, and on camera and film on movies, it's just really tough. It's a tough way to work. It's a tough line of people. But in voice, the voice actors were so wonderful. I was like shocked. They were so nice to me. Where in on film you had to prove you were worth it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in those days you got 3 takes. You could mess up once, the star could mess up once, and the engineers could the behind the camera could mess up once. Any more mess ups, you were done. But in voice, you had a lot of older mentors that were, like Frank. Frank was so kind and so supportive, you know, and BJ Ward, people like that. They were just wonderful people, I really fell in love with working in that atmosphere.
Oh, that's so wholesome. I mean, because like a lot of the people you've just mentioned, I've also had good experiences with. Like I've met Frank in person, and he is just
Yeah,
the sweetest. He was so kind to me, and you
yeah.
know, he's so
I went
amazing.
into a session once with Frank, and I was standing behind him at the in the studio,
Mhm.
and they said, Frank, uh, we have a rocking chair that is squeaking in the corner there. Uh, so can you do a sound of the rocking chair? It's kind of, and it was a funny bit. And Frank went, well, is it made of wood? How old is it? An antique? How big is it? And he gave you 8 different sounds of a rocking chair. And I said, oh my God. Oh, I'm not ready. I'm just not ready. So I talked to Frank, but Frank was very supportive and very, he said, and he even got to the point of where he goes, do you have an agent? I went, well, kind of. And he says, I'll introduce you to my agent. So,
Oh,
he was
wow.
very supportive, very helpful, very, very kind. And I fell in love with voice actors because I was primarily not a voice actor. I was primarily a stage theater. That was my background.
Yeah.
And I did not know really, the, the, the technology, the terminology, and the approach. Of course, since then, I've had many years as a voice actor. Uh, so, that's my story.
Yeah. And talking of mentors, I heard that one of your mentors was Mako, who actually
Oh yeah,
was on Avatar, The Last Airbender, and then was replaced by Greg Baldwin, I believe.
Samurai Jack. He played Aku
Oh,
on Samurai Jack.
oh, right. Well, I'm pretty
You know
sure he's
Samurai
replaced.
Jack? Huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's replaced by Greg on both Samurai Jack and Avatar, his
Yeah,
characters.
Greg has kind of been the Mako's voice.
Yeah. So what was it like for Mako to like mentor you essentially?
Well, Mako was well, I had come to town. I was 17 at the time. I had like
Hmm.
a couple $100 in my pocket, 2 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of shirts, one pair of shoes, and I, I didn't know where to start. And I had traveled, gone to. I went to Pasadena Playhouse, which was a college of theater arts,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I wanted to be in theater. I knew I wanted to act, and I was working there as a clerk one day just to make some money. And I looked through some photos and I saw this Japanese guy, the photos of older students. And I saw a picture of this Japanese guy. I says, who's this? And it was Mako. And he was a student before me at the Pasadena Playhouse. And I was shocked. And then that next year, he was nominated for Academy Award for Sandpipers.
Wow.
So I looked him up when I moved to after school, and I moved, and he brought me. He had this theater called the East West Players, which was an Asian American theater, and he taught me everything. And I have many, many stories about him. But I'll tell you a story about him in terms of Avatar and
Okay.
Jeong Jeong and Aku in Samurai Jack. Well, Mako was a theater actor. He was great. He was just great. He actually was nominated for a Tony Award in 1976 for a Stephen Sondheim play
Wow.
called Pacific Overtures. He was nominated for as leading actor in a musical. So it was a very great character actor as well. So one day, uh, I asked him. I said, I was doing animation and Nickelodeon and I found some work at Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, and all the streaming services. And I said
Hmm.
to him, I said, Mako, you ever thought of doing cartoons? And he went, what? Cartoons? I said, yeah. He says, why? I said, well, you can make a lot of money doing it, you know. And Mako had always been a theater person, and if you know theater, it's really tough to make a living in theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's still paying you wages from the 1950s. you know? And he says, well, okay, maybe. So I introduced him to my agent, and immediately he booked Jeong Jeong. I mean,
Wow.
Uncle Iroh in Avatar. I was Jeong Jeong. I'm sorry. He
That's all
booked
right.
Uncle Iroh in Avatar, and they fell in love with him. They fell in love with his voice. They fell in love with the way he worked, and he started doing a lot of animation stuff. So I kind of started him off with that.
That's so cool. Wow. And of course, Avatar was voice directed. I'm not sure, was Samurai Jack voice directed? By Andrea Romano.
Andrea, who
Did she do Samurai Jack? I'm tempted to check
yes,
now.
no, he didn't. She didn't do some. It was Gendy Tarkovsky, who was the creator,
And Colette Sunderman. Right,
and
okay.
Colette Sunderman. Yeah, but yeah, Andrea, and if you talk with anybody who worked with Mako, they just fell in love and thought he was brilliant, and he was brilliant. He was brilliant. That song he sung in Avatar. I don't know if you remember the song he sings to his child. I had heard him sing it many times in person, way before it was recorded, and people don't know. I think you know the story that in the cartoon, I think he sings a song to a son that he had lost or something.
I don't think so, no.
Huh?
No,
Uncle Iroh?
I haven't heard it.
Well, a long time ago, Mako lost his son in a
Oh,
car
bless
accident.
him.
And so that song is kind of reflective of that
Oh, bless
incident.
him.
Yeah, his only son. He has two daughters, and it was a baby, and it got in a car accident, and he lost his son. And so a lot of people say, "Oh, I cry when they hear Mako sing that song." Well, the reason why is he brings those memories back from his own
Yeah.
personal experience.
Oh, bless
I can
him.
tell that story now since he's passed away, but it's true. It's true. So I studied under him. He taught me many things. I was actually offered a role on Broadway when I was young, and it was kind of like a role where you do 5 roles, 5 small parts, but what you're really doing is you're running around, moving the set, and you're singing a song, and it was a chorus boy. And I
Yeah.
went to Mako and I said, Mako, I was young at the time, and I said, Mako, what should I do as an actor? Should I take this job? And I was broke. And they were offering me like 500 a week. And in 1970s, 500 a week was a lot of money. And he says, well, you could do it. You could take the job. And he said to me, but you're really not good yet. You really need to study. And you have to make a choice whether you want to work and make money or do you want to be a good actor. And so I turned it down. I turned the Broadway job down, and I went and I studied. And I went to New York, and he introduced me to his voice teachers. I studied opera. I went to ballet class, me running with my tights up the street in New York, Broadway, going to my classes, studying modern dance, studying music, how to play it. He told me, study music. He told me, this is what he said to me. He said, listen, he said, acting is not a science. It's not 1 + 1 is 2. It's more abstract than that. But you have to learn all the sciences around the performing arts that will give you craft, answers to the craft, like
Yeah.
ballet. You got to study ballet. So I went and I studied ballet. Never would I have ever studied ballet. Me. I had to go learn dance, ethnic dance. I had to go learn martial arts. I had to go learn languages. And consequently, I started being able to work in every field of performing. stage, radio, TV, films, and started doing voice because of that.
Yeah.
Because I think a good voice actor must be musical, because you're learning, you're dealing with rhythm, you're dealing with tone,
Mhm.
you're dealing with sound, and tempo. So I think a good voice actor must have all those qualities, and music helped me in that sense. And I studied not only Western music, I studied Eastern music as well. So I can read Western and Eastern music.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's helped me a lot in terms of, doing all these characters that I've done throughout my career.
Wow. That's really cool, Keone. Wow.
Yeah. Because, people mistake, in my days, it's different now because people are getting more hip, with media. But in my days, Asian was everything. If they wanted an Asian actor, I mean, one guy would be speaking Korean in the scene, one guy would be speaking Chinese, one guy, and nobody cared. Just as long as you sounded like you were Asian, it was okay.
Yeah.
But, so now so I continue studying today because people want more authenticity, and I demand authenticity,
Yeah.
So like, in China, there's so many dialects besides Mandarin, Cantonese, Shanghainese, Taiwanese. So, I've made it a mission to study dialect. Right now, I'm taking lessons. I'm actually studying the Okinawan dialect, which is much different from Japanese.
Wow.
So, and it's afforded me a great career. I've done movies in Singapore, Thailand, China, Japan,
Mhm.
and I can voice those characters as well authentically.
Wow. You're really talented, Keone.
Well, it's a craft,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a craft.
Mhm.
In the old days, all you had to do was know one language, and you could just
Yeah.
traverse the whole field. Anytime
Yeah.
they needed an Asian, they would just come in and do it.
Yeah. So, how do you think voiceover has changed, let's say, from the 80s to the present day? As in the techniques people use, the voice actors themselves, or the training that people go under to sort of like prepare themselves for the industry. How do you think that's changed?
Well, I come from the old school, you know,
Yeah.
and you in England have taught us a lot in terms of theater, in terms of actors training. You
Mm-hmm.
know, in my days, we used to rebel against it because we had what you call the method. Or it's like, as long as you feel it, it's okay. While the British were using craft, and we would say, well, that's just technique. That's just technique. That's got nothing to do with how you feel about something. So Mako's teaching was to blend both. You have to have craft, you have to have technique, but yet you have to discover feelings. Nowadays, I think people get away with like more commercial results. What is popular, or what sounds popular, or what sounds groovy, what sounds hip, you know. But I still go back and think what's missing for me a lot is subtext. Now it's really craft oriented. People have great accents, people have great rhythm, but they still, the essence of, I was told in order to be a good actor, no matter voice or acting, you have to be a good person. I never understood what that meant because there's a lot of bad people and, a lot of monsters and kaiju, and they're not, but yet I realize, you have to reach the essence of a character, the 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 point of view from the character, that character's point of view, and their history and how they feel. In other words, you have Hamlet and you have Bambi. they both have needs, you know?
Yeah.
They both have a purpose. They both have a past. They both have something in their heart, whether it's love or hate or something. And we do have to be able to express that. And that is what's going to make you unique, because nobody can, everybody can imitate what Kevin Conroy sounds like, or, or what Eric Bauza does a great Mel Blanc. But what about the essence of the character? What do you want to say about that character? That has been kind of more my forte, because we have stereotypes, and particularly as an Asian actor, I've seen all kinds of stereotypes, right? About Asian stuff. And sometimes we play the stereotype instead of playing the essence of what that character is and where that stereotype comes from. I was fortunate in the sense where I came from Hawaii. I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. And in Hawaii, we were the majority there.
Yeah.
So we have that confidence of expressing our feelings. Whereas a lot of so-called minorities that lived on what we call the mainland, they had to suppress their feelings. For example, during the war, the Japanese all were interned on the West Coast. 120,000 Japanese were put into camps. They all moved them en masse into American concentration camps. A lot of time they were suppressing their feelings, but in Hawaii, we were the majority, so we were able to express how we felt.
Yeah.
And so I was one step ahead of a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's changed today, of course. People felt, hey, I'm not going to suppress my feelings anymore. I'm going to be me. So anyway, getting back to your question, how has it changed? I feel like technology has really advanced, so people can really do some great things with their voices. But they've really forgotten, many people, the essence of a character, the period that they come from, and the meaning in terms of relationship with other people. And that's really important when you're portraying an Asian character, particularly when you're talking about, because it's such a class-oriented society. For example, like, you would say one thing to an equal, you would say one thing to a higher up, you would say one thing to a lower person. And for example, like in Japanese, there's swear words, but I mean, it's not like an American. There's no way to say F you. I mean, because you'd say, you want sex? What? But the worst kind of like derogatory remark you can say to another person is the word you, and how you say you, meaning like you, Amber, hey, you, or thou, or, there's so many different words to say you, and one can be as bad as saying F you, and one can be very respectful.
Yeah.
So language is really important.
Definitely. I agree. I definitely
and
agree.
how to use language, which the British are really great at,
Well, I feel flattered.
because you're a literate society.
Yeah.
We're in America. We're not a literate society. We're more a feeling society.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
My final question to you, Keone, is actually an interesting
Final?
one. Yeah. Look, we got the little time. It's like ticking down. It's so it's annoying.
Okay. But you cut things, don't you? You don't cut things.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
only an hour. Okay, your final question.
Wait. How long have you got left?
I got a lot of time.
Okay, well, in that case, we'll keep going. When the timer gets sort of like to 1 minute or something, I'll ask you to just leave and then come back in, if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay, sweet. This is not my final question. Keone, what voiceover techniques would you recommend to people who are studying voiceover? What have you learned over the years?
Oh, that I would recommend to what people? What you mean, aspiring voice
Yeah,
people?
aspiring voice actors, like any skills that you've learned as a voice actor that you thought, oh man, wish I knew that when I was starting out.
Learn different languages. Like I can sing a song in I can sing a song in Spanish, I can sing a song in Italian, I can sing a song in Thai, I can sing a song in
Wow.
Japanese, I can sing a song in Chinese. Learn a language, learn the properties of a language. One is to be able to, sing a song in many different languages. I can sing a song in Hindi, you know. Um, so learn, which is a good way because music is kind of easy to learn, because we're
Yeah.
built for that. You know, learn how to sing different music, learn music, learn how to express yourself in that song. Be able to tell a joke in another language.
Hmm.
You know, uh, so uh, so I mean, never stop learning. Always keep studying. Always keep working. Because what you know gives you more strength, gives you more power. I mean, I've had to go in and actually reteach people, great voice actors, how to say different words, like particularly like with anime now,
Yeah.
you know, like teach them properly how to say the Japanese words.
Hmm.
It's not yakuza, it's yakuza. It's
Yeah.
not katana, it's katana, you know.
It's not
So
Matsuhiro, it's Matsuhiro.
Matsuhiro, right? It's not Matsuhiro, it's Matsuhiro.
Matsuhiro.
Yeah, very good, very good. So so you know, knowledge is great and you can never stop learning.
Definitely not. No, it's like
It
it's like
and the more you know gives you a lot of confidence,
yeah,
when you're in the
yeah.
studio.
And people just
And
pass it down generation to generation.
yeah. But the thing about being in a studio, I mean, it's tough. It's like when you're a boxer and you're learning how to box, you don't
Mhm.
ever expect not to get hit. You
Right.
will get hit, you know? But somehow people think, oh, I can act, I can do it, and I'll never have a problem, you know? And it's kind of like a false confidence. You
Yeah.
gotta, it's like a boxer. You gotta go in, you gotta prepare to not get in a situation where you will get hit.
Yeah.
Be prepared, and you inevitably will get hit, but you have to take the blows and go with the blow. And what helps you take the blows is knowledge. Knowledge will give you confidence. And I'm also a person that relies not only on quality of work, but volume. You have to keep doing volume and
Yeah.
eventually find your own way out of it.
Yeah. That sounds like the most easy part, to be fair.
Huh?
That sounds like the most easiest part, to be fair, but like,
Yeah.
like yeah. It says about 1 minute and 50 seconds. I'm not sure if I could squeeze in another question or not before I restart the meeting. Would I? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I talk
Hmm.
fast. Well, let me
Okay.
tell you how I first started voice acting.
Okay.
Okay, from the theater. Remember
Okay.
there was in the 60s there was a big kung fu craze, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
stuff like the Wu-Tang Clan. They were all Chinese from Chinese movies and people started after Bruce Lee. So
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of movies from Hong Kong were
Yeah.
being dubbed by British actors. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, of course, because it was in Hong Kong. It was a British colony at one time. And they would be, all right, mate. And it was like, it didn't work well in America to have Chinese guys talking like Brits. So we had to come in and kind of like they wanted to have Asian sound, but English that they could understand.
Yeah.
So, and I did tons of them. That's how I first started in the voice industry. So find a thing that is really popular, like anime, and jump into it that way. And that's how I first started. And I just started doing one, like it was like burgers. You do one and you flip it over next, do one, flip it over next.
Yeah. Very, very good advice, Keone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot of product coming in from Asia, and a lot of it needs to be dubbed into English. And I can understand that, because when you're watching Netflix and you're like watching late at night, it's really hard to read subtitles. So sometimes I'll just switch to an English dub,
Yeah.
And so I've been working a lot with dubbing TV series and films from Japan, China, and Korea. And there's a whole market there right now that's really kind of opened up for voice actors, for young voice actors, particularly.
Yeah.
And there's movies from all over, from Poland and Germany and Austria and Belgium, that are being now dubbed into English for streaming services, like Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah. Would you
Mhm.
say dubbing's really hard?
Well,
Like if
let
it's
me
into
tell you.
English or Japanese or Chinese or any sort of language?
Well, hold on, I'm gonna broaden you out here. Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, knowing the language is a good thing. Knowing, so you can catch the nuance of the
Yeah.
sounds that they make and what the sounds essentially mean. Um, in the old days, when I was dubbing, you had there was no it wasn't digital, it was analog. As a matter of fact, my son keeps reminding me, he says, "I'm digital, you're analog. Don't forget that." That's what he tells me. Um, uh, so in the old days, there was no digital recording. So nowadays they could stretch the tape, they could stretch your voice, they could fit the voice into the lip movements. In my days, you had to match it. And it didn't matter if the dialogue didn't match the lip, somehow you had to make it fit. And you
Yeah.
got 3 shots. If you didn't get 3 shots, you were done.
Mm.
You were done with that studio. And there's only 7 studios in those days that did recording, you know.
Oh. So
Yeah,
there was a
you had to be
selection.
good. So I got my chops that way. You had to look at the dialogue, you had to look at the film and try and match it. And the engineer could not help you like they can today. The engineer could move the clip a little bit to the right or to the left. But in those days, they couldn't do it. You just had to match it.
Wow, that's so like because you gotta know like the timing and everything, and then you gotta like do like similar words to what they're saying. Like, oh my gosh, like
Right. And you got to act, and the voice has to fit the character. I mean, if it's a real big guy, you have to have. So, uh, it was really, really tough, but it was a great schooling for me.
oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
About I know there is a live action show that you did that I did mention at the start of this that you did called The Duck Factory, which is what I initially contacted you about because I think you said something about you met Bill Scott or something like that because I remember watching like a GI Joe stream that you did for GalaxyCon and you did bring him up, but I was like, oh, I'm working on a documentary on Bill. I might as well go ask Keone if he's
Well,
worked with him.
I went to school with Dorothy Scott, who
Did
was Bill's
ya?
wife. Yeah, I went to
Oh my
school. I went to
gosh!
theater school, and she would always talk about Bill. And then finally, I got to meet some of those actors,
Wow.
like BJ, and they were my heroes. That was like I never thought I would reach that range.
Yeah. And
But Dorothy was very kind. She was a very nice
oh,
person. Yeah, and that's how
oh.
I knew. And Duck Factory, I I did actually I did that with Frank uh
Yeah,
Frank
Frank was in the episode.
Welker.
Yeah,
and
he's
I
in
did
those.
that with and what was his name? Was it Don? Don was in it.
Don Messick, yeah.
Don Messick was in it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was a funny thing because they needed a Japanese Donald Duck, so I did the Japanese Donald Duck, and I just did kind of like a Donald Duck with a Japanese accent. That the Japanese accent I could do. The Donald Duck part was hard, so I had to work. Frank helped me a little bit on that. But the producer of it went to high school in Hawaii.
Wow.
Yeah, I forget his name, but he had also produced the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Alan
And
Burns?
Alan Burns, right?
Yeah, we recently lost him. We lost him about 2 years ago, 2, 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
well, he went to high school in Hawaii. So I
I
met
didn't
him
know
and we
that.
had a fun talk, and he brought me on the show.
Wow, that is
Right.
so
And
cool.
that was one of Jim Carrey's first show.
Oh
And
yeah.
I had worked with Jim on a show called Buffalo Bill. That was way before your time.
I think that sounds very familiar.
That was with Gina Davis. That was her first show. You know Gina
Might
Davis, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So it was called Buffalo Bill. It was a popular show during that period. And there was a show with a bunch of Jerry Lewis impersonators. I
Yeah.
was the Japanese Jerry Lewis, and Jim played, I don't know, a Jerry Lewis impersonator. So we were both Jerry Lewis impersonators. And it was just when he was starting to get big in comedy. No
Yeah.
one knew him then, but he played, you know, he played a Jerry Lewis, and then he got the Duck Factory show.
Yeah, yeah. Now look at him now. He's like one of the most successful actors in Hollywood. You know.
Uh-huh.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? You're just working with him, and then just so you know, and then just suddenly just like in all these huge Hollywood films, and you're thinking, wow, oh my gosh, you know, because like it was his, because you were working with him on his literally his first ever professional like
Oh yeah. Look,
TV
I
show.
worked with Robin Williams and when he was doing, like ADR stuff, voiceover
Really?
stuff. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
when he was a
wow.
young kid.
He did
And
voiceover as a kid.
I mean, not as a child, but when he first came out of the
Oh,
ground, he was
right.
with this theater group called the Groundlings, and
Ah, right.
he did some Walla work, and you could never get him to shut up. You'd say, "Robin, it's my turn to talk. Would you just shut up?" And he would do your voice. He would do other guy's voice. He would talk. He would do your lines for you. I mean, these guys were crazy. They were just brilliant,
That's so cool because that actually reminds me there is sort of connection here because Robin Williams actually went to college with Kevin Conroy.
Right, right.
Yeah, and also Christopher Reeve. I think they were roommates at some point. I know it was definitely Kevin and Christopher, and then Kevin and Robin or something like that. But yeah, he's very,
Yeah.
very happy with those two.
Well, I was working around town and everybody's talking about this great actor, Robin Williams, and I ran across with him in the sound studio. And then eventually I did some movies. I did a movie called Jack with him, with Francis Ford Coppola directing. So I did work with Robin then.
Ah, that's really cool. Wow. Have
Yeah,
you ever?
huh? Go
Oh
ahead.
no,
No,
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
no, the thing I want to say about, voice acting is a great life, but it's not, it's tough and you have to be tenacious.
Yeah.
You have to, and if you're a great plumber, nobody says, "Hey, listen, could you come over and show me your work? Could you audition for me? Can you put a couple of pipes together for me? Can you just clear my drain and let me see how you do your stuff?" But an actor, you always have to prove yourself every time, and
Yeah.
it's tough because I would say out of 10 times if you're good, you'll get rejected 5 out of 10. But if you're not as good, I mean, you're not as well versed, you'll get rejected 9 times out of 10. And you're lucky to get that job on the 10th time. So
Yeah.
you have to have, really you have to be tenacious. You have to develop a self-worth, this confidence. So voice acting is not only about physical craft, but it's mental health too.
Yeah, definitely. Like you gotta just like prioritize your health and stuff like that because as a person who has like mental health issues and stuff like that, it is sort of I would say it's kind of like an escape, I suppose, kind of, but like, trying to maintain sort of that happiness, I suppose. I am happy when doing voiceover, I absolutely love it, but just I gotta keep thinking my mental health as well, just so it just doesn't go spiraling and everything like that.
Well, you get a lot of rejection,
Yeah,
and
just
and
need
you're
thinking that.
always and when you are working, you're always on the spot, and people are either loving you or hating you.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
so you have to deal with that. And
yeah,
speaking about Robin, of course, Robin had a kind of tragic ending, and,
yeah,
and we all go through that, and we all understand it as actors because
yeah.
there's a lot of rejection, there's a lot of self-doubt. So if you want to be a voice actor, like I said, it's not like a plumber, it's not like it's people are always asking you to prove yourself, and you're going like, why? I was talking with a friend, a great character actor, and he was telling me about how he met Rod Steiger, and Rod Steiger, was a great actor during my time. He had
Hmm.
just done the film with Sidney Poitier, Mr. Tibbs. Um, I forget what it was called, but he played a sheriff in the South. And they had Rod Steiger come in on an audition after he had won an Academy Award. And they said, well, Mr. Steiger, can you do accents? And he had just done a Southern sheriff, which he won an Academy Award for. And he got up and he just walked out. And it's been done time and time again. Shelley Winters, who had 2 Academy Awards, was asked by somebody, a young producer, well, tell us, what have you done? She pulled out 2 Academy Awards and put it on his desk, and she said, this. And so I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. It's a business, and you're constantly questioned.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
definitely.
like when you're talking to voice actors, it's all fun, but you don't see the other side of that coin sometimes, and I want to tell you it's there.
Yeah, 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 of course. Keone, do you do conventions? Like convention appearances?
Cons, Con.
Yeah, cons.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
past couple of years, I've done a whole bunch.
Have you? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That sounds so
Yeah, I'd love
cool.
to do England sometime, but
We love to have you
I,
over here.
but
Yeah.
yes, I've done a lot. I do maybe one. I used to do maybe like one a month, but
Hmm.
lately it's tapered down.
Ah, right. The reason why I asked was mainly because I was asking like, you know, are doing Comic Cons, is it more relaxing for you when you're so used to like working in a booth? Or what would you say? What was it you say? What is it like being a guest at a Comic Con and people like ask about your voices and like people would probably say, like do the voice or something like that? Because I don't know, just want to hear input.
Well, I'll tell you, you have to get out and not be so isolated.
Yeah.
And what the con does is let you meet people and see where they are,
Hmm.
and see and at the cons, I've met a lot of people that not so interested in becoming a professional, but who need uh, a form of entertainment to sustain themselves. And it's helped me to understand as I become older, as I become a parent, and I become, wiser, that people need things, you know. And in my days, we were told, well, you were weak if you relied on things to give you hope. You know, you just have to buckle up, be a man, tough it out.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm. Yeah,
um,
get out your shell.
huh?
Get out your
Yeah,
shell sometimes.
yeah. So what happens is I met a lot of young people who find that like it's great for me to find that, you know, what we do gives them purpose in life and joy.
Hmm.
And that's good. And, like raising a child and being with my family, being with a wife for many, many years, is to learn to understand other people's point of view. So a convention is great, in that regard.
Yeah.
But it's also good to open up people's eyes to what we do.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that it's not some magic. It's just hard work.
Yeah. Like you're
We apply.
genuinely working. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Of
And I've
course.
met quite a few good people. You know,
Hmm. That sounds
and
wonderful.
it's amazing because some young people can tell me the dialogue from shows that I did 20 years ago. They go, "Remember when you said this to this? What did that mean?" I went, I don't
You
know.
have to show me a clip or something.
I was just paid to say it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
that's what we do.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I was wondering because I know we were talking about before how, people who usually ask you, oh, can you do such and such's voice and stuff like that. Now, I agree with you, like asking them is like putting them thingy, but what are your thoughts on it? Like if someone asked you on the spot, oh, could you do Jeong Jeong's voice from Avatar? Like if you're at like a booth or like the convention booth, or if you're like in a like street or an interview or anything like that. What's your thoughts on being asked to do voices on the spot?
Well, a lot of the time people ask me to do a voice because they actually want to do the voice for me. They want to do the voice with to impress me with their ability to sound like me.
Yeah.
They will actually do my voice. I'll say no. Well, what do you think about it? And then they will continue to do the scene for me because they want to express. And it's good because they're enamored with the stuff, so
Yeah.
they want to recreate it for me. It's not me recreate it for them sometimes. And I tell them that, well, my characters are a part of my my humanity.
Yeah.
So they should understand that part of me.
Hmm.
And I continue to talk with them about myself, and then they kind of get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes children will ask me to say things and I'll do it for them because they love it. But
Yeah.
I'm not really a big fan of like I'm like being a puppet for somebody
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally understandable. I appreciate you
because
explaining that.
and then I ask them, well, what did you get out of it? Because if you didn't get anything out of it, I've kind of like failed. And so,
Yeah.
and a lot of people will tell me, well, that was like grown men will come up to me and go, Storm Shadow, that was my childhood. And I would laugh.
Yeah. Well, I
You
mean,
know,
like you've got these guys showing it, and then they've probably shown it to their kids, and like they
right,
could show it to their grandkids. It's just been passed down by certain generations.
right.
Which comes to the question. I know you said you have a son. How many children do you have? If you don't
I just
mind me
have
asking.
one. He's 13 years old. Yeah.
Ah, right. Did you say 30 or 13?
Huh? 13.
13. Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So has he grown up with your cartoons, essentially?
He's kind of like, what is the word I want to say? He's just like, he kind of, he's proud, but he acts like he's nonchalant about it. It's like, oh, yeah, he was in Star Wars. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's met a lot of the Star Wars people and they love him a lot. Like
Wow.
they took us up to Lucas's, when I did Star Wars Rebels,
Uh-huh.
um, they invited me up to the offices, and they have a museum there and everything. Took us up, took
Oh my
my boy
gosh.
up, and Dave. I don't know if you know Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Dave took us out to lunch and took my boy and gave him a book and started drawing pictures of Ahsoka
Wow.
for him in the book.
That's so cool.
So, you know, and then so he's kind of like nonchalant about the whole. Oh yeah, I know Dave Filoni. You know, so you know, and like Ian McShane. You know, Ian McShane. I did Deadwood with him, and Ian's a good friend. And I mean, they all love him because he's a kid, you know, and he's so bright. But I guess he's spoiled in that way. You know, I have a lot of people that always give me, a lot of artists and a lot of people who do covers of books and stuff. They're always giving me stuff, you know, saying, "Here, give this to your son." So he's got this Godzilla collection that is like huge, you know, and it's just tossed around the house.
Oh my
You know?
gosh.
I said, "Do you know who gave this to you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," you know.
I know.
He's kind of spoiled, you know, in that sense.
Wow, he's one lucky boy.
Yo, and about that meal, that Dave Filoni invited us up. About that, he invited us up. He took us out, gave us a tour of the combine, showed us all the stuff from the Star Wars movie, took us out to lunch, gave my child gifts, and drew him pictures, and then told me they were killing me off in Star Wars Rebels.
The audacity! The audacity!
I thought that was kind of fun. I thought that was funny, actually. He said, "By the way, we're killing you off this season." I went, "What?"
Do you think he would have reacted differently if they said, "Oh yeah, we're killing you off in this season, but we're just going to take you out to lunch anyway and stuff like that because we love you"?
Well, you know, that was their way of saying goodbye to me, I guess. But, you know, I've been in the business so long and I've come and gone so many times, you know.
Yeah.
You get used to it. You go next.
Yeah, like any different job or like career path you take. Is there anything that you're working on at the moment? If it's voiceover or live action, if you are, well, it's still working. I'm not sure. Are you retired or are you still going?
Are you kidding me?
You're still going. You're still going.
Well, I'm in this series right now on Netflix. I don't know if anybody's watching it. It's called Samurai Rabbit: The Usagi Chronicles.
That sounds very familiar.
It's a takeoff on Usagi Yojimbo. Have you ever heard of it?
I think so. Who made Samurai Rabbit?
It's Stan Sakai, who's the creator. He created Usagi Yojimbo.
I think
and he kind of like he has his own comic book and everything. It's a samurai rabbit.
Yeah.
And it premiered on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know if you're a turtle fan.
Yeah, definitely. I'm seeing all 4 of them in next month.
Okay,
So that's Rob, Townsend, Barry, and Cam. So
okay. Well, do you know? Did you watch the TV series for what was it? Was it Cartoon Network?
Nickelodeon. Yeah.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
There was a 3-parter where the Samurai Rabbit came on. And I played the villain in that. But anyway. Anyway, I have the 20 episodes on Netflix of the Samurai Rabbit, the Usagi Chronicles. There's stuff I can't talk about, but I have a movie for Netflix coming out. It's going to be very, very big.
Ooh.
But I can't talk about it. It is a superhero type of thing. That I can't talk about. And then there's a series coming out. I think it's HBO Max, I think, and it's I can't talk about it, but it's based on a movie it's based on a movie. And it kind of like
could be any movie. Could be any movie.
No, it's one that Key Luke was in. I know that Key Luke was in it. I don't know if you remember Key Luke. He was an old Asian actor, big time.
Yeah,
and it had some gremlins in it, and so I'm in that series.
Oh, that's exciting.
And I just finished about 120 hours of dubbing a Korean thriller. It's called
Oh.
Big Bet on Hulu.
Oh wow.
And and do you know that Diablo from World of Warcraft is coming out on June 6th?
Is it?
Yes, Diablo 4.
Wow. Oh my
Okay, I'll
gosh.
just say that, and I won't say anything else about that.
Okay, okay. Our discussion has just ended. There we go. No, you're right. You're right.
So I've been working on all kinds of stuff,
Wow, you've
and
been
on
very
camera
busy.
as well, and on camera as well. So
Oh,
I'm continuously working, and I don't know why, but I do. I
it
do.
gets you out more. It gets you out more. You know,
Huh?
it gets you out more. You know, maybe you get to
Yeah,
places, get the blood flowing.
but
You're
that's
just like,
but that's why you have to keep doing it. You
yeah.
know, like I said, quality, but yet volume. You know, I just before I talked to you, I just laid down an audition on my computer
Oh,
for
did you?
yeah, for a big video game.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Now,
Oh, one of my
my
characters you didn't talk about
oh,
that I'm very proud of, and
what character is
is
that?
Chen Stormstout from the World of Warcraft, The Mists of Pandaria. Are
Ah,
you a game player?
I play video games, but I've never played World of Warcraft.
Okay, Chen Stormstout was the panda from Mists of Pandaria on
Hmm.
World of Warcraft. He was the lead panda. Anyway, I'm very happy with that character and very if you saw the animation from that show, it's wonderful.
Hmm. Really
So
cool.
yeah, I'm busy.
This is me. Oh, wow, I'm jealous. I mean, actually, I've got to ask now. I know my dad will appreciate me asking this question because he's very passionate about my whole voiceover thing. Because like I've got a demo now, and I'm producing getting a commercial one produced. So I'm also in voiceover and stuff like that. You know how you do like a lot of dubbing and ADR and stuff like that. How do you
Hmm.
sort of get that work? I mean, does it just come through your agents like normally, or do you go out and seek jobs, or how what would you say is like the easiest way to sort of like start finding work aside from getting an agent in the biz? If
Um,
I said it right, that's
you have to put yourself into the position where they need you,
Mhm.
where you can do something that nobody else can do.
And this doesn't go for me. This goes for everyone else out there who is also just
Huh?
starting in voice.
This what?
This doesn't just go for me. This goes for everyone else out there who is starting in voiceover.
Right. You have to have some talent, some skill
Yeah. Hmm.
that very few can do.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you have to try everything. You have to try everything. You know, I did all kinds of stuff, you know, like promos, radios, you know, people, student films, you know, uh, people are always looking for talent somewhere. And you have to, you just have to, you know, just keep doing it. You know, I would, you know, local radio stations, college radio stations, I would say, hey, can I read your news? You know,
Yeah.
can I
Mhm.
read an ad for you guys? Uh,
Yeah.
even and nowadays we have online podcasts and stuff like that. So you say, you know, you can come in and say, hey, you know, you got any characters that you know you're doing any drama recreations? You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
so I've been trying myself to get into anime because I see how popular it's become. You know,
Yeah.
so I did some anime. I did something called The Record of Ragnarok. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I've never
That's a
heard of it.
Netflix. That's a Netflix one from Japan.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's really
it's a
cool.
story about gods fighting humans. The battle of the gods fighting humans, and how humanity must defeat the gods in order to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, one of the humans is Jack the Ripper,
Ooh, that's a
who
bit
fights.
brutal.
Yeah, and I play a Japanese famous samurai called Sasaki Kojiro.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that because even though I was hired, I've also studied Japanese swordsmanship. It's called Iaido. So I knew the history of Sasaki Kojiro, the warrior, the samurai,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I knew his story. So, like I said, information and knowledge will help you, uh, get noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you
And then
so much for
agents
your
will come to
good
you and
piece of
ask
advice.
you. Agents will come and ask you, "I'd like to represent you."
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm. Sounds good. Sounds perfect. Now I'll take that on board and I will just absorb it into my body. Like honestly, that really did help. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm. There's two more things I'd like to talk about if that's okay. Because I
Okay.
know we're gonna run out of time again. It's on 8 minutes.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's a pain in the butt this whole time of thing. Anyways, so it's the first one is a tiny little topic that I just want to bring up real quick. Is of course you did Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword. You voiced Matsuhiro. So what was it like working on that? Just real quick.
Well, that was my good friend Andrea Romano, who I had known for many, many years. I knew that when she was an assistant and she worked her way up,
Yeah.
and she's one of the best animation voice directors.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely.
she brought me in on that.
Did
And
she?
she did. She brought me in on that.
Wow.
Yes. And I always wanted to work on Scooby Doo, and never had the opportunity. But when they went to Japan, she brought me in. It was wonderful. It was, and she knew the kind of work that I could do. So the character and me kind of just fit really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh.
love her, and she's kind of semi-retired now, and I miss her very much.
Well, she has a good taste in headphones because I had a GalaxyCon video chat with her and she
Yeah,
loved my headphones so much she actually bought a pair herself of these cat headphones.
yeah,
I'll have to send you the photo later because I've got it somewhere on my hard drive. But it's just so adorable. Like, she's usually inspiring all of us. Like she's inspired me as in like voiceover and techniques and stuff. And now here I am inspiring her with my
yeah.
headphones. And you're thinking, oh my gosh.
But
Honestly,
she has been so good to me. She comes, in our days, uh, we have this kind of loyalty kind of thing amongst voice people, and she
mm-hmm.
has always been loyal to me. And I just could not. She brought me in on Batman when she was doing the series with Kevin, and
Yeah.
she brought me in Avatar. She brought
Mm-hmm.
me into what was that? Uh, the Living Legend, the part of Avatar, Korra,
The Legend of Korra.
Legend of Korra. She brought me in on that. She brought me in on Ninja Turtles. I mean, she's just been so wonderful to me.
Yeah, she deserves all the credit she gets.
And of course, I had worked with Don Messick, who was the original Scooby, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Frank Welker. So it was a lot of fun working on that. Yeah.
Wow, that is
And she
so
brought me in on
cool.
Teen Titans too.
Oh yeah, Trouble in Tokyo. Wow. What was it like
Yeah,
doing that real quick?
that was that was an interesting experience, because
Uh-huh.
working with those guys, the Teen Titans guys are really kind of unique. You got Scott Menville, who I've known for some time, who plays
Yeah,
Robin. He's
yeah.
just a wonderful actor. And then Greg Sipes, who plays Beast Boy in it,
Mhm.
he's crazy. He can do all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, he came on Deadwood and did a wonderful turn
Did he?
on a
Wow.
couple episodes. Yeah,
Hmm.
he's a very good actor, very unique actor. And of course, Tara, who's just a beast,
A really good friend of mine.
really. She's just
Yeah.
she's just superb. Head
Yeah.
head over so many, you know.
Yeah.
She's a unique
Definitely.
talent. And all of them are unique, you know.
Yeah.
So working on Teen Titans was a real pleasure.
Oh, that's so cool to hear. And My final question to you, Keone, before we wrap up is real quick. What is the single best advice you would give to any voice actor? Like any voice actor, whether starting out or they're a veteran, what advice would you give?
Well, when people say they are a voice actor or they want to be one, I always say two words: prove it. In other words, if you say it, mean it, do it.
Yeah.
Do not
Yeah.
give up. Because like I said today, even I have doubts, but I struggle. I say, okay, forget about it.
Yeah.
Work harder, be better, learn something,
Yeah.
make it so that they need you no matter what,
Yeah. Very
you know?
wise words. Very
Right,
wise words, Keone.
right. So prove it. You want to be a voice actor? Prove it.
Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. Got it. There we go. Prove it. Okay then. Keone, thank you so much for talking to me. I'm gonna keep that in my head now. Just prove it. That's gonna be my new slogan. Like I'm just gonna have that everywhere. Where can we find you on the internet? Have you got any social media pages? Have you got any website?
Well, like I told you, my son says I'm analog, so I'm kind of clumsy. I'm all over. I'm Young Keone in Instagram, and I'm on Twitter for now. I've been banned once.
What?
Yeah, but it was something stupid. But and then I have a Facebook page, a fan page as well.
Okay. Well, I'll link those in the description.
Yeah, and
And
because I've been in Deadwood, it can get kind of nasty sometimes.
oh dear. Oh.
No, not nasty, dirty. I mean, can get rowdy.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
right.
the two things are heating up in here. I know. But yeah. So to you guys at home, thank you so much for watching this episode of In Conversation with ATF with the lovely Keone Young. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with anyone you want. Just thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. With that, we'll sign off here. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Cut.